The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the persons appearing on the program and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of Sunflower Media Mint. Some programs might include strong images or language that not might be suitable for all audiences. Viewer discretion is advised.
Godlow on the track.
Your new you isn't really you. You are listening to BeHue by the new Hue.
Evening guys, welcome to the pod. It's BeHue by the new you. Of course, I'm substituting again for Reg. Reg's still not available for the pod because of her, of course, personal issues or I don't want to talk about it, but it's Reg, keep in there, hang in there. The family's here for you. So, prayers up. It's me, H, together with, of course, dun sa isa pang co-host in the show, Gita. Yesterday we were also together in preview. It's becoming a Gita and H for the new year for the past few weeks, but it's really turning out to be cool. This is the 28th of October. Welcome to BeHue again by the new you. You can check out all of the previous episodes of the podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts. You can check out all of the episodes, all of the content, all of the playlists on our website. It's www.thenewuph.com, and we just released newspaper. Okay, so newspaper is the article section for the new you, wherein you can really check about fresh releases on music, movies, any articles that has its new perspective, even literature and all. And we call it newspaper because, well, hey guys, it's black and white, and the new is black and white. So for tonight, it's episode 7 for BeHue. Bilis, no, Gita. We're already in the middle of the season. So we had about 7 episodes for BeHue, but for season 2, since we have 3 shows for season 2, imagine this is about, we're going to the 21st episode already for season 2. So for tonight, well, it's really, I think this is going to be a really interesting topic because this is something that we don't really get to talk about every day. Minsan nga napapag-usapan yung magandang topics whenever you're in the middle of a inuman na tipo, di ba? I mean, when people are really talking about things that you don't really talk about. And we invited someone on the show. You can actually see her on Instagram with her pole thing going, with her yoga and all. Welcome to the show, Emerald Ridao. Hi, Emerald.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, it's our pleasure. Na kanina when Gita and I were talking to Emerald off air, it's our pleasure to have you on the show to join us for tonight. How are you?
I am well, thank you. All things considered, I think what's going on right now with the pandemic and everybody being in quarantine, it has truly evolved to become the new normal. I think we're all getting used to it at this point. Mm-hmm.
And honestly, I mean, when we started the new you is actually a pandemic baby, we would say, in a sense. More of a quarantine project for all of us. We started last May, and we are actually hungry for that, the new normal in a sense. But we don't want to call it new normal always because it's been everywhere, and we want to. Yeah. It's going to go back and all. And right at this point, 7 months down the pandemic, I would say, like how we said it nung season 1, stay safe. But right now, what we can say is actually live with it. We have to learn living with the virus because it's here. Yeah. It's here. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, I want to jump into the topic for tonight because this is actually a really interesting one. You are into a little bit of background for those who are not following Emerald on Instagram, but if you don't, you have to follow her now. I mean, what's your Instagram username, by the way, ID?
It's at Emerald Ridao. Okay. So just Emerald Ridao. I put it in the comments too.
Okay. Oh, nice. So you can follow her on Instagram and you can check out her feed and you can really just browse into all of this pole dancing, pole instructing. Emerald is a pole and aerial instructor also. So what's this all about? This is something that well, how do you call this? This is something that siguro back in my generation, this is something that people or our parents would not really want to talk about with their kids. But right now with social media, with the internet all over, 'di ba? Care to really explain? I mean, with what's the idea? What's the deal with pole dancing? Because a lot of people, girls and boys, are actually going into this.
Yeah. I'm gonna start off with a small disclaimer, which is this. I'm only on my 5th year of pole dance, and actually, the industry has been in the Philippines for over 10.
Okay.
So there are people who are far more qualified and have a lot more in-depth knowledge of the history of pole dance than I do. But I can talk about what it's been like for me for the last 5 years.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of sort of schools of thought about where pole dance really came from. And you get a group that, is very into the fitness aspect of it. It's almost gymnastic, really. The apparatus is a vertical pole, but a lot of what happens on there is tests of strength and flexibility and agility. So it's basically a gymnastic apparatus. And then on the other side, or I suppose, we all commingle. We have the dance aspect, which is really expression. It's a lot of self-expression. And the range that you can dance on a pole goes from everything from classical and contemporary to, hard, exotic, really the deep, sexy, highly technical sort of women who are basically just dancing in pasties and G-strings and looking amazing and really strong doing it. So it's a full range of talent really over here. And I think I love that in this country, especially in the last couple of years. I've seen pole dance make it to things like Filipinas Got Talent, I think.
Yes.
And shows. And so it has become sort of more, I would dare to say accepted as a normal activity. Certainly people have seen a side to it that is not just the sordid sort of like beer house dancing that a lot of people go to on first impression. I'd like to think that it's evolving. We have a very long way to go, but we're definitely evolving.
And with that, I think coming, let's say, sige, generation 1990s most likely, di ba? Yung mga ganyan. It's something wherein if you look at a pole, you're thinking about strip clubs already. I mean, that's the norm, I would say. That's the traditional mindset to it. Yun yung, let's say, the notion that was already attached to the object. In a sense, that perspective, personally on my end, ruined the art. Okay, I would say that personally. Because you already put malice into it. Yun yung problema eh. It's something that instead of really appreciating what's happening, what is really being done, like what you mentioned, diba? It went to the Got Talent of the country and all. And then right now we're seeing it in a perspective na wow, mahirap yun. Diba? Hindi not really talking about, syempre there's a perspective of it's sexy. Ganon, diba? Pero come to think of it, if you really put your mind into something that it is actually practiced, hindi yan nagagawa ng lahat. It's something na kailangan mong pagbigyan ng attention and all. That's hard. That's hard to do. And right now, how would you compare it? Kanina you said nga it's really a bit accepted in a sense na, diba? Pero the change in terms of this acceptance with our culture, with our society, how do you see? I mean, you've been in the pole for about 5 years now, and then I think you also experience somehow this what do you call this time that I'm talking about, wherein sobrang pagka nakitang pole, okay, and then first thing in mind, okay, strip clubs, beer house, mga ganun, diba? Yun yung because that is what is projected on media, diba? Movies and all, diba? So right now, how can you say the difference between those two right now with the time and then the evolution of it right now?
Um, Super tricky question. Before I get into that, I
Sure.
just want to give a quick shout out to my students, Yanel, Donna, and Red. They're actually watching right
Sure.
now, and I'm super grateful for your time. All right. So when I started pole, I was one of those people that was really adamant about clarifying that, I'm doing this for fitness, okay? I'm not trying to be a stripper like that. It was really important to me that people understood that I
Yes.
wasn't trying to be a stripper.
Yeah.
And over time, I've come to realize that actually, what's wrong with being a stripper? Really, if you think about it, I understand that the culture we're in, we are a conservative, mostly religious Asian culture, and I understand that
Mm-mm.
we're raised a certain way, to think that women have to behave a certain way.
Mm-mm.
And I, for one, am sort of all for the abolishment of this mentality, because it's so constricting. And the reason that, kind of to your point about why people think of pole as an object for strippers,
Mm-mm.
the reason that women are shy to explore themselves is because society tells us that if you behave this way, you are of this low sort of lifestyle, you have, no career goals and things like that.
Yeah.
And I just think that it's 2020 and it's time that we kill this thinking. Um, being exposed to very strong, athletic, beautiful, and amazingly flexible people in the pole industry has helped me to realize that the nightclub stripping side is a small part of what is a really big community. And we shouldn't look down on sex workers and strippers, because ultimately that's where we got the idea to turn pole into a fitness activity. I'm just going to come out and say it, we took what they did for a living and we turned it into a leisurely, once a week, hourly thing.
Exactly.
The appeal of pole dance is that strippers do it. Let's face it,
Yes.
It's interesting. So rather than spend so much time trying to differentiate ourselves from the source of this beautiful activity, I really think we should just embrace our sisters in the sort of the stripping, pole, and sex industry and say, okay, thank you for inspiring us, and we've gone ahead and taken what you've done and we've turned it into a whole thing. There are whole competitions now, and we're
Yeah.
really, really close to being recognized as an Olympic sport. That's
Wow.
how far we.
Yeah.
So I think it's time to, just for me personally, the evolution. One part of the evolution was, let's take this sexy activity and make it an accepted fitness activity. But then further to that, let's stop thinking it's a bad thing to be sexy at all.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if you've ever tried it, but it's actually really empowering to love your body in this way and to feel super sexy in this class. One of my favorite things about pole classes is watching the transition of my classmates and my students when they enter the studio their first couple of lessons, and they're kind of shy and they don't really want to express themselves. And then over time, they discover their style. They discover that it's okay to let loose and it's okay to be sexy. And they just become these amazing, more beautiful version of the people they already were,
Yeah.
and being exposed to that every single day that I'm in this studio, it's hard to really look at it as anything bad.
Yeah.
I wish you guys could see it. I invited you off air and I'm inviting you again on air.
I told you again, Harley and I will take you
Yeah.
on.
So most likely, since you mentioned it on air, there's no really saying no to it. So
Yes, exactly. But
Yes.
let me just say, you said it perfectly. From your roots to how you evolved the sport till now, till today, you you said it perfectly. But
Yeah.
I have a question also.
Go.
Um, I know for a fact that you get some negative comments, some
Oh,
comments
yeah.
that, yeah, that objectify you personally. So I would like to know if it's okay, like what kind of comments do you get and how do you handle these comments?
Oh my goodness. Gosh. Instagram is one of these places where, it's a nice space for content sharing and like idea sharing between people in the community. And at the same time, such a toxic sort of like, dashboard of these people like not thinking at all before they type things. My friends and I have like a group of friends and we are sort of like fiercely feminist and like unapologetically
Mm.
will send your dick pics to your mom kind of people. So
I
we
love it.
we blast the guys that send us these messages. Like, when I was new to Instagram, or rather when I was new to building an audience on Instagram, I used to be really aggressive about it. Like if you sent me an even remotely rude DM, I would put it on my stories. I wouldn't even block your name. I would put you out, and then I would search for you on Facebook and send your girlfriend a screenshot of what you said.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
that's
That's how you
probably
get
over.
even.
Mhm.
I mean, because to me, at the time, I was sort of, it was about attack. Like I felt attacked.
Yeah.
It was about counterattack. Um, but then one day, I ended up getting a message from somebody who actually had a wife, and I messaged him. I messaged the screenshot of what he had said to me, which was essentially like, in not so many words, he had said that he had wished that, we could have sex and this and that. And I sent it to his wife. And she actually was like quite upfront with me. And she said, this is not even the first time that this has happened, but I thank you so much for being honest with me.
Yeah.
And then she apologized to me.
Wow.
She
Why?
sorry, her, right? And I was just like,
That's great.
what
Why
have we
would she
done?
do that?
What have we done to our women that they would be the
Yeah.
ones sorry for the behavior of, heinous? So it kind of got me thinking that maybe my approach needs to have more compassion, and maybe I'm hurting people with the way that I
Mm-mm.
blast names that I don't even care.
Mm-mm.
So I kind of, I went through some stuff, and actually I've come to realize something, which is this. When people say things to you that are bastos, that's actually a reflection of their thinking rather than of your worth as a human being,
Exactly.
right? So I feel kind of bad for men that objectify me, my pole sisters, and other women that are simply celebrating their bodies, because to me that signals that they haven't learned to love themselves,
Mhm.
that they need to go out on the internet and hate on other people instead of being able to appreciate, So to me, that's kind of, it was never about people saying rude things to me, was never about me asking for it or being deserving of all this hate. It was that the people who send these messages, they haven't quite gotten to the point where they can appreciate other human beings. So
True.
that's a flaw in their journey. They need to work on that. Maybe again, it's a reflection of the way that society brings our men up to think that women are available for objectification, to think that women are available for the consumption and entertainment of men.
Yeah.
Really, it's about time we reclaim that space. We are here for ourselves. We show up for the purpose of what we want to do. And if you are into that, then that's cool. But if you're not, go follow someone else.
Mhm.
Same like what the show is really all about. But the new you when we started it, it's well, like our tagline itself, diba? Be a you in the society. That's what we advocate here. Kumbaga, life is all about colors, as they would say, diba? It's really colorful and all. But in reality, when you go down in a certain point in your life, it's all about decisions. It's all about taking a stand. And with us, the reason why we have it like the new you is actually colorless. You take a stand. It's between the hues between black and white. It's not really just about black or not just being about white. Kasi we understand that we all have all of the shades in between. And we respect that. And that's the thing there. It's all about respect. Like what you mentioned, diba? I mean, even if someone magsabi ng basto sa'yo or bastusin ka, it reflects their perspective. Okay? I'm not here to say, I'm not here to sabihin sa lang, okay, that's mali yan or what. Because they are standing on their own morals, on their own perspective of life and society or what. Everybody can really just build on their own culture, their own society. That's it. But at the same time, let's not forget also that there are other people also that are against your beliefs. Yung mga pananaw mo sa buhay. And the good thing there is, yeah, we can all just live in this world all together. We can all coexist. I think the main recipe there is all about respect. Okay, stand by your grounds, stand by your what you believe in. But what I'm just asking is, you respect my opinion, I will respect yours, and then wala na ibang sagasaan. That's it. And that's really encouraging to hear you talking about women being objectified kasi it's been running for really a long time, diba? I mean, to be frank about it, reasons when to the time na nagkaroon tayo ng mga sexy films and all, diba? Honestly, the reason why I am saying that is because the main point of that movies is actually the women. Well, in fact, meron naman silang partners din dun sa movies na yon. Why not also objectify the men in those movies, diba? It's not just, kasi if you look at it as a sexy movie wherein you are looking at both the male and then the female, then you appreciate the whole thing. But the thing there is, what do we see in posters? Diba? You don't really see the poster or yung pinaka main label na ganyan, the name of the guy talaga. It's really about the women. And that is something that we have to change. Kumbaga, if you are into this, kanina we are talking about the pole and having to respect its roots, diba? And sex workers and all. You respect that. And then, let's all together respect and appreciate everything. Both male, female, of course the LGBT community, all of that. Let's all respect everyone. That's the thing about it. But having also this topic about feminism, kasi we are going into the equality side of things, you know. With you being what do you call this? Also more onto the women empowerment. Having this platform, let's say Instagram, okay, you are more in the Instagram. At least you have a good 40K following there, diba? What I mean, of course, 40K, we don't know really what all of this, who composes this 40K, but it's a platform, I would say. It's a platform wherein you have to be responsible. And also, having to advocate this empowerment, how would you say, let's talk about the positive first. What's the responsibility of social media influencers? I would say it doesn't really care. I don't really care about 100K following or 40 or 50. As long as you have a mouthful or a following or an audience, you have to be responsible about it. So what are the influencers' responsibility in terms of handling or having these platforms right
now? Personally, I try very hard not to say anything that I haven't either personally experienced or at least done some research about. Like it's so very easy to get a knee-jerk reaction about something that makes us emotional or passionate or angry, and then we just repost that right away without really thinking about the implications of what that might be. And sometimes people who do this, they end up reposting like fake news or unverified information.
Exactly.
And it's really dangerous in this time. So that for me is like the number one thing. I always gotta fact check what I'm about to say. And then I even kind of think about it from the perspective of someone who would want to criticize what I'm saying. And I double down on, if I want to say this thing, do I have the sources to back it up? So that's one. Um, and then I think, it's funny that earlier you brought up, I respect your opinion and you respect mine, and we should all just respect each other. And I do genuinely believe that respect is the way to go. But somebody called me out on this just last week, and he was basically saying too much tolerance is actually a bad thing. So
Yes.
we cannot just say it's okay if this person has an opinion that's different from mine, if this person's opinion causes pain to other people.
Yeah.
Like going on to what you were saying about the LGBTQ. Yes, people exist who do not understand what it is to be gay, or do not even agree that gay people should have equal rights. But to be tolerant of their opinion is to oppress other human beings. And so, in that regard, we actually shouldn't be 100% just openly respectful of everybody. I think there needs to be kind of like a grain of salt, there needs to be like a ranking for like, I will respect you up until the point where you disrespect other people,
Yeah.
and then I'm going to call you out.
Mm-mm.
And so when it comes to the content, there's that for me too. Like, I try very hard to not be judgmental, but at the same time, there are days when you have to call people out,
Yeah.
especially now, and especially, in this sort of environment with the issues that are coming up. It's hard to kind of just sit back and say, I'm not going to pick any sides, because sometimes not picking a side is
Being
picking.
tolerant.
Speaking aside.
Yeah. So there's that too. Like, I'm quite careful about the implication of whose side I'm on, and I don't pick a side unless I'm sure that that's where I want to be. So I'm
Mm-mm.
quiet about a lot of things until I'm convinced about which side I'm on, and then I am just sort of fiercely for that side of the issue. And then, of course, lastly, when it comes to content creation, I really think it's sad to admit this, but ultimately, if your post is not interesting visually. So there's that, like, trying to grow an Instagram audience has really sort of forced me to think about angles and color and lighting, and like, sometimes people will skip your message even if it's a good one just because the photo wasn't that interesting. So there's all of that,
Yes.
you know. And for me, it's like, where is the balance between being yourself in your message and just being a complete sellout and only doing this post for how it looks, things like that. So
I
there's never.
remember. Yeah, sorry. I remember actually browsing to the feed of the new you and checking on this post by Jinri Park. So we all know, well, Jinri transferred to, I think, abroad already, Australia, and then she posted something like an old picture. Okay. So but the caption, it says there that now that I have your attention, and then she starts telling
Yeah.
her message to it. It really just boils down, or really shows how this social media thing really, what do you call this, manipulates a person's mind, diba? Parang, like what you mentioned, your message to a certain post most likely baka mga mas maganda pa, mas relevant pa, more sensible than other stuff that we see. But the problem there is they're not going to read it at all because it's not interesting visually, and that would really entice someone na tipong, I will spend time here and all. And I want to really go back into, I think, watching Social Dilemma on Netflix, and how it's really affecting the mind of the users. Na
Yeah.
if you're on social media, it's not about the content. Eh. The social media science into it is really about you, the person, to be engaged with your gadget, with your phone. Okay, it's like you are being timed if you are on phone timeout. Like if they didn't see any activity from your phone for about 30 minutes, they have to do something like shoot in a notification that really would interest you, just to pull you back to your gadget, diba? I mean, those are the things. And talking to you on this episode, and you mentioned about content creation. That this is something that I just really want to ask you right now, because of course you've been doing also your own content and all. The new you also is this something like that. I mean, we've been creating this podcast episode since May. We've been talking about a lot of stuff. We've been doing shows without audiences. Honestly, we tried
Yeah.
we tried recording shows with about one viewer only, and that's fine. I mean, for us, for the host, it's all about what we learn from the guest for this conversation, 'di ba? Yun yung
Yeah.
mahalaga for us. Eh. It's really about for every podcast that we do, we learn something. Okay. Now, the thing there is, I want to be frank about this. I mean, Gita also, your take on this as well, and of course, before we wrap things up, in terms of the content right now in social media, ako this is my personal take. Either it's funny or you're sexy. Okay? And that is something that a content na with the new you, we really didn't think about like doing. Of course, we cannot be funny. We're not comedians. And then we cannot be sexy. So, I mean, like that. But the thing there is, how would you really think of the market right now, I would say? I mean, you being a marketing person
Mm.
also in the morning and really branding this. I mean, if we're talking about the Philippine market only, 'di ba? For you to go viral, either you be funny or you be sexy. Okay? But how does it really affect a brand? I mean, if I'm talking about if you are branding someone, a company or a person who would love to start his or her own channel or social media right now, would you advise to go on this masa viral way wherein you could have that following agad-agad, 'di ba? Kasi mabilis eh. Snap of your finger, you have subscribers. Or you keep it low but targeted. I mean, on what you really
Yes.
believe in, or what you really want to do based on your content. Which way would you go?
Um, there's a lot of things to consider for this,
Yeah.
but just off the top of my head,
Yeah, sure.
budget and time constraints aside,
Mm-mm.
definitely stick with your mission. That's the number one thing. I also kind of just want to go back on what you were saying because there is some truth to, you know, the higher engagement that is given to sexy posts or
Sure.
funny posts. You're right. But I think the amount of internet users, or sorry, the volume of people who are on the internet now has kind of provided a fair spread, you know? And people don't just go to the internet to escape their day jobs anymore. Now people are online to connect. And for
Yeah.
as long as you have a message that somebody, is inspired by or also believes, then you are connecting to people. I believe in, the way that you guys do things, that you have the same amount of enthusiasm whether you have 100 people watching you or just one. That's great, and you should always maintain that amount of enthusiasm. But I think ultimately, rather than thinking, oh, should I be a specific personality, look at everybody that you pay attention to and realize that the one thing they all have in common is they're provocative. They make you think, whether it's making you think of something serious or emotional or light and funny. Ultimately, they give you something to think about, even for just the 15 seconds that you're watching their stories. And so that's kind of what I would recommend, not just for you, but for anybody trying to create content. You have a mission, like you clearly are you're quite clear on what you're doing the new you for. So since you already are clear about the people that you want to reach out to, just keep doing that. The one thing I learned from you is this, and I'm saying this because I'm 5 years into it. If you see why you do something, the audience will come, the money will come. So you
Yeah.
just have to keep at it. I really don't think, I mean, it's a very rare case that somebody becomes viral overnight. Very rare.
Yeah.
And virality is not an exact science. Don't let anybody sell you an idea otherwise.
Exactly.
Virality is not an exact science. So just stick to what you love, and people are going to come to you.
Yeah,
Perfect.
that's true.
How about you, Gita? What's your take on that?
Um,
Which
I
way?
think
Which way
this
would you
is.
go?
I love what Emerald said about that, and I agree actually. But I believe also that in connection with Emerald's answer is we should just be ourselves. Like no matter who we try to be, no matter what we
True.
try to project in social media, if it's not us, definitely the watchers will see.
You would.
Yeah.
People right now see genuinity no matter what you do. As in, if you're into sexy, if you're genuine about it, people will
Yes.
connect with you.
Exactly.
And if you're right, so I guess that's it. We don't have to pretend to be someone we're not. And like Emerald said, the viewers will come, the money will come as long as we do everything with passion. I mean that's the cliche, but it's a traditional way. But it's facts. It's the truth.
Exactly.
So just be yourselves, be you, like he said.
Exactly. And that's well, in this setup, in this scenario we're in, nandito, well, it's a lockdown or it's a quarantine side of things. When this started, we were all tied up in our home, 'di ba? Yung mainstream, I would say, not just the mainstream. Doon mo makikita yung the difference because some are used to working with a full production team
Yeah.
wherein they build this image, this is how the people want to see you. It's like watching Hunger Games, 'di ba? We,
Yeah.
we we saw how the image was built with Katniss Everdeen, 'di ba?
Yeah.
That's the true production setup. And then right now, we cannot be together. So everybody, it's really a flat playing field in terms of creating your own content. So for those who have gained the skill to produce, to create content, dun umangat yon. And people at home right now, it changed also how people would want to consume media as well. Because they people are already fed up. Let's say it. But that gaslighting is really thrown to everyone, to this whole society. We are all being manipulated, not by just persons, but also, of course, brands and all propaganda campaigns and everything. All about that. That you are forced to believe into something that can be true or not. And doon napagod yung mga tao on how we consume things. And that's really good. I mean, things are changing. Like also what we've been talking about with M for the past few. We're already past. Well, we're reaching 1 hour. Ang bilis na oras. It's. Oh yeah. Sorry about that. So yeah, we've been talking about for about an hour now. So kumbaga, being raw and new in terms of accepting this and all. The pole dancing community, the positivity on women as well, women objectification is something that we have to really take a stand and learn to accept. But sorry, I'm really having a hard time with this. It's really great. Do you hear me?
I can.
Okay. But now, when we talk about when we talk about things now, I want to end this episode like how we always do or end this, like what Gita and I would used to end this. We'll ask M three questions, very very random questions out of nowhere, and just finish it off with this.
Let's do it.
I'll start to throw first, Gita. So this is with, of course, with respect to our co-host Vino, who is joining us for tomorrow with New Mood. This is actually his question. Emerald, if you're a pizza, what flavor are you? If you are a pizza, what flavor are you?
Sorry, if I'm a pizza. Gosh, Hawaiian.
Why?
Because I'm very polarizing. And people either love me or hate me, just like pineapples on pizza.
I love pineapples on pizza.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
And,
feel like you told us not to like that.
honestly, hindi ko alam kung saan nanggaling yung statement na yan online with the internet
Same.
about pineapples being not, di ba?
Yeah.
Hawaii's been here for the longest time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And
My boyfriend heard me say this and he literally messaged me just to say ew, like in all caps. I just saw the notification right now.
Gita, your turn.
Get apples on pizza.
Oh, my turn. Maybe I wanted to ask this a while ago. If you could talk to your 5-year-old self or 10-year-old self, what would you say?
Everything that you're dreaming of is going to come true.
Wow.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
amazing.
I had a
Yeah.
wild imagination when I was 5, and a lot of older people told me to stick to practical things like what I was going to do when I grew up. But I always knew that I wanted to be the kind of person that affected a lot of people, and I think I'm okay. So,
Yeah.
you know, and that's my message for all 5-year-olds too. Whatever you want to be, you can be that. Just stick to it.
Okay.
Wow.
Last one. If you're going to transfer to any planet, where? Given the fact that you can live, given the fact that you can live. I mean, hypothetically.
I don't know enough about other planets to answer this, unfortunately. But can I be totally cliche and just say that I love the one that I live on right now?
Wow. Yeah.
I just feel like, we need to take a lot better care of it, but everything I've ever needed is right here.
Perfect.
So, even you guys.
That's
Yeah.
nice. Thank you so
So
much.
wait,
Yeah, go.
Before we end though, can I just say that Ivory Red said, one of the best person and teacher that I know, hi teach Emerald Relampagos Ridao. She says hi, and Joyce Nunez says love you M. So
Thank
thank
you.
you everyone for watching. We obviously love your teacher. And we love her too here at the New Hue.
Yeah.
Thank you so
Actually,
much for joining us tonight.
talking with you for about an hour now. It's really a worthwhile conversation. I would say.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for having me. I love to be able to talk about these things, and thank you for having, for keeping your platform open to alternative opinions. And
That's
Yeah.
all power to you guys.
Thank you so much. That's the main point of the new you. Like every other person, I would say, we started the platform that you can be heard. The new you is a platform not just for those na merong 10,000, 100,000, 1 million followers. No, the new you is for about everyone. This is a platform for the internet. This is a platform for you guys. Like what we say, diba? It's the new you. We are pertaining to you as a person. So for those who've been listening or watching this episode, you can download all of the podcasts. You can watch to all of the episodes on Spotify, Google Podcasts, and Apple Podcasts. You can check out the website as well as www.thenewuph.com. You can follow our social media with Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, everywhere. The New You is everywhere. And every Thursday we have BeHue by the New You, of course with Reg and Gita. I'm just a substitute here for tonight. But tomorrow we have Mood by the New You. This is our playlist podcast wherein we ask the guests to curate a playlist for us depending on the mood. It's not really about the genre or the music. It's really about the mood. So if you will be willing, just create a poll or whatever playlist that you want to share, and we'll put it there. You can download you can listen to all of the playlists on our website. Well, it's on Spotify, but to make it easier for you to find it, it's on the website. So go check it out. It's www.thenewuph.com. We have playlists from Kian, City, Patty Tew, lots of DJs locally, even Sasha Grey. We all know Sasha Grey.
Yeah. Remember that episode.
Yeah, that episode. So, once again, the good night, guys. And as for the new you, it's still in black and white, straightforward. We'll continue to talk about topics that you would love to hear. and we will always be continuing this culture and always renew you. Good night, everyone.